Alright, so today we'll be reviewing the Kindle Oasis. So, how do I think of the Oasis? Is it good? Is it bad? So let's get the generals right. So back in 2014, I bought the Kindle Basic model, which is the non-backlit model. It has a 6-inch e-ink screen and about 167 ppi, which isn't very dense. So when you look at the fonts, when you look at the words, they're kind of blurred on the edge. This thing doesn't have any of the problems. It's clearly the most technologically advanced model in the whole Kindle line, as you can see. As you can see, the words are very clear and very distinct. They don't have any edge. The display is extremely like that of a book, which would create an illusion that you're reading a real book. And I would give it that because all Kindle displays are just awesome. It won't tire your eyes or anything. It won't ever tire your eyes. So with fonts out of the way, let's talk about user experience and general connectivity. So the model I have in my hand is a 32 gig model. I don't think you'll ever store as much book to use out even 2 gigs of space, let alone 32 gig. So why 32 gig? Well, because I love my first Kindle, and by love, I mean I love it to death. I don't have it with me right now, but I'll do a comparison review later. So now, let's talk about usability. First, one advantage Kindle has over the competitors is it's more convenient to deliver whatever books you want to, deliver to it. You can just set up an email and send TXT files that way, and it'll be pushed to the Kindle, and you can just click the file. You can just click the document, and it'll be downloaded to the Kindle. It's extremely convenient. That I like. So what I don't like is the battery life. Now, I'll get it right. I'll say it outright that the battery life on these things are absolutely horrendous. Yes, you heard me right. These are absolutely horrendous. The first gen Kindle I get can last up to 2 weeks, and that's counting more than 5 hours of use every day. But this thing, my goodness, this thing can't even last a day if I use it for more than 5 hours a day. Yesterday I read books for 4 hours and this thing screams for a charger. I plugged in the charger and charged it. Well, it only takes about 30 minutes to charge. It charges pretty fast, I'll give it that, but the battery just doesn't last long at all. Well, some of you might say, hey, you should turn wireless off, that way it should last way longer, right? I did try that. I did. And the longevity lasted from 1 day to 3 days, which is still not ideal at all. Come on, this is an ebook. It's supposed to last for years or even decades. And this thing's battery is much like that of a smart book than any e-reader out there. It can last only 1 day. Jesus Christ, this is atrocious. I'm actually going to set up a replacement once I get back to the US from my family trip right now. But yeah, the battery on these things are absolutely horrendous. So how about connectivity? Well, this model is a 3G plus 32 gig model, and the connectivity is actually pretty decent. Most of the time we can keep it at let's see, is it 3G or 2G? Oh, it's 3G. Most of the time it's connected to 3G. While I was in the US, it's most of the time it's 4G, so that's pretty fast. And 3G is pretty well 3G isn't slow either. I mean, come on. For books, most books are between 2 megabytes or 10 megabytes at most. Why would you need 4G? Actually, 2G will be plenty fast enough for a 2 megabyte book. And if you're under 2G web, then it would take what? It would take like 10 or 15 seconds to download a book, and that's plenty fast enough. Would you ever need 3G? No. 4G? wow, that's way too overkill for this. Anyways, most of the time it has 4G in the United States. If you bring it outside the States, it'll have 3G, which is plenty fast. And now let's get to the backlight. Some users have reported uneven backlight on Kindle Oasis, but so far my model doesn't have this problem. It lights up really well, and the backlight is very, very even. We can't see any spots that are particularly bright, and this is a good thing in my book, you see? This is full brightness, and well, from this angle, the left side seems more lit up than the right, but actually you won't even notice it if you actually use it, because most users will set it between 8 to 11 and never mess with it again. So one thing though, do you want to turn on auto brightness? Absolutely not, because there are two sensors at the edge of the button. One is here and one is here. If you accidentally cover the button with your thumb, it'll brighten up significantly. Well, it won't show now because I've only covered it for like a few seconds, but if you actually toggle this option on, and hold it and cover the light sensor, it will brighten up significantly to a point which it becomes unusable. So do you want auto brightness? No. No. Not on this model. I've heard good things about Kindle Voyage, and one of the things about Voyage that's better than this is that you can turn on auto brightness on the Voyage and it would adjust accordingly. The Voyage is a bit smaller than this one. Obviously this is a 7-inch model and the Voyage is a 6-inch, but get light sensors not directly below or above the button. They get light sensors elsewhere, which your fingers likely won't cover. And that design is just a lot clever than this thing. What's the point in having auto brightness if you can't use it, right? That's only natural. And as far as Bluetooth goes, I have no ways to test it out because I don't have any headphones that any Bluetooth headphones that I can pair it with. I suppose it can, work well with audiobooks, but I don't know. Alright, let's turn it off. And here is Sync My Kindle. Most of the time you don't need this thing because it's gonna fetch data from the server every once or twice a minute, I believe, very frequently. So if you get ebooks delivered through mail or push notification to Kindle, it'll show up very quick, like within 10 seconds or so. So you won't ever need Sync My Kindle unless something happens. And in the unlikely event that something happens that your Kindle doesn't get the book, this button still won't help. Because well, I have the Kindle app on my iPhone, and if I try to deliver a book to it and it won't show up, then it won't ever show up. Sync My Kindle button doesn't work. So yeah, if it doesn't work, then this button won't do anything. It's just a button to comfort you, to show you that you can get a book within 4 seconds instead of 10. Does it have any real meaning? No. Alright, let's go into settings and see what else we can do with this absolute garbage of an e-reader. You can obviously invert black and white, which is maybe useful at night, but I don't use it because it's fatiguing on the eyes. You can set display size. You can get these menu buttons larger. Well, it's pretty garbage. I don't use it. I don't need it. You can use voice view, which for the disabled. I'm not disabled. I don't use it. You can use free time to set restrictions for your kids. Well, I don't have a kid yet, but maybe someday, you know. And then reading options. Nightlight. Yeah, I'd rather leave it on because I don't know what function it serves. I don't know what purpose it serves. So I'll just leave it on. Next series, absolutely. Well, talking about page refresh, this is actually a pretty handy feature within the new Kindle because for this Kindle, you actually don't need to turn it on. And it'll prolong your battery life pretty significantly. One reason I find the battery life very short is because I turn on page refresh and I'll refresh every single page. As you can see, if you turn it off, it would not refresh. The fonts would just go fuzzy and get focus after it gets fuzzy. The whole process is extremely quick. You likely won't see it. But anyhow, the point is, in earlier generation, if you turn off page refresh, then the fonts are going to be very fuzzy and have edges around the words. But Amazon has done a pretty fantastic job in recent generations. You won't notice much degradation in font if you turn page refresh off. Let's see these words. Are they clear? They are. Well, maybe not as clear as if you turn page refresh on, but still, they're pretty close. If you don't pay close attention, you likely won't notice at all. Well, if you turn it on, then it's got to be pretty annoying because if you turn it on, then you'll notice it refreshing every single turn. Yeah, toggle it on, baby. Let's see. It'll be blackened for a while and then go white. You see? Which is not that friendly on the eyes. Okay. Most users out there probably turn this off because they want to preserve battery life, but there are a few like me who prefer the old school way, which is to turn it on all the time. I won't recommend it, but if you're a diehard fan like me, then maybe that's the only option. Well, no matter how they improved page turn, it won't ever get as good as having a page turn every single page. Maybe you don't see the edge, but, well, nothing wrong with having a comfort pill, right? So, with experience out of the way, let's talk about build quality. The build quality is actually pretty fantastic on this device. So, this is my third Kindle Voyage. The first two models are clearly not functioning right. The first one I got was brand new in its packaging, and it got an extremely slow microprocessor. It literally takes half a minute to boot up. And for a 1 megabyte book to load, it'll take roughly 2 minutes. That was way too much for me, and I figured out that might be a problem. So I sent it back to Amazon and set up a replacement. The replacement arrived. It functions very well, okay even, because I felt the speed is much faster than the first one I got. But the thing is, it gets a few scratches on the back, which definitely hurts how it looks. So for that reason, I returned the second one, and now this is the third one. It's doing alright at the moment. Nothing wrong with it. Boots up pretty fast. Load books pretty fast. Has a okay screen. Oh, by the way, speaking of screens, if you get a Kindle Voyage, please pay attention to any dead pixels. The first one I got has 2 dead pixels, stuck one here and one here. So some of you might ask, what's a stuck pixel? It's